Hey y'all, it's Taylor. Welcome back to my channel. Make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, and check out all of my other content. Today's video is going to be another Black Nanny video, and we are going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, nap time, and why your child, 3 reasons why your child could not be napping. There is a corresponding blog post to this video, so make sure that you check the description box down below. Head on over to my blog for lots of other content. I have been a nanny for almost 10 years now. I nannied in undergrad and built so many relationships with families that I was able to do it full time after I graduated, and I'm still in doing it now. So yeah, I don't have any kids of my own yet, but I have acted as a mother figure to so many children in the Atlanta area and with the families that I've worked with, and I really enjoy my job, and I love kids, and I just love being a nanny. So now that I'm getting married and I'm hoping to start my own family soon, I'm hoping to make a career change in the next couple of months. So I decided to share all of the tips and tricks and things about childcare that I have learned over the years by being a nanny. So today we're going to be talking about why your kid, why your toddler, why your baby is not napping. So let's go ahead and get into the video. Okay, you guys, so I really love nap time. Not only does it give you, the parent, a break, but it is very good for children. Sleep is when your body is rejuvenating and refueling, and your cells are turning over and all this good stuff. So it's really important to development and to growth for children, especially in those toddler years when they are changing and they're growing every day and all this kind of stuff. So I'm going to give you 3 reasons why your child possibly isn't napping, and then how to fix them, okay? So the first thing could be lack of routine. Kids are very adaptable, yes, but they also thrive on routine. It's the same reason why childcare facilities have a routine. It's the same reason why schools have routines and all kinds of stuff. It's because kids, children, toddlers, whatever you want to call them, the little angels thrive off of a routine. So if you don't have a routine in place, and if you're just letting your child do what they want when they want to do it, fall wherever and sleep whenever and things like that, and if they're not getting an adequate consistent amount of sleep, if their nap time is just all out of whack, if you have a kid who naps for like 45 minutes on end or whatnot, it's because the routine isn't consistent. So the way that you fix that is you play around with a routine and you develop a routine. Your routine for your kid is not going to be perfect within the first week. It may take you a couple weeks. It may take trial and error. But I would say the number one way that you can fix this is to watch your child. What time of day are they most active? Around what time of the day do they get hungry? Around what time of the day do they get cranky and groggy and kind of just tantrum-like? Because that's an indication that they're tired. So to develop a routine and a schedule for your kid, watch your kid, and your kid will tell you what their schedule needs to be. And once you find one that works, you will see that they are napping more, that they are napping on a consistent basis, that they're taking good long naps. I would say that a good nap time is anywhere from about 2 to 3 hours, maybe an hour and a half to 3 hours. So yeah, so that's the first tip that I have for you. The second tip is lack of physical activity, and in my experience I have found that this is usually the culprit. I don't know why, but I feel that parents become more cautious as their kids grow, especially in that toddler phase, because they're active, they're wanting to climb, they're wanting to run around, and parents are just like, no, don't run, don't climb on anything, They're very cautious of parents are very cautious of toddlers, like getting hurt and falling and scraping their knees and getting boo-boos and all of that kind of stuff. Let your child run around. Let them fall. Let them hurt themselves. Let them scrape a knee every now and then. Um, Let them do that because they're being physical and they're getting that energy out so that they will be tired later and so that they will have nap time. So don't prevent your kid from exploring and from climbing on things and from experimenting and from falling, because that is just energy that they're using up. Another thing is, you want your kid to have a little bit of tough skin. Um, and side note, pro tip, when your kid falls, I know it's very hard as a parent. I'm probably immune to it because as a child care provider, I've worked with so many kids. It'll probably be different when I have my own kids because that motherly attachment will be there. But when your kid falls and hurts themselves, unless it's something like a super duper big injury, if they're running and they fall and they scrape their knee, give them time to figure out how they're feeling before you run to the rescue. I would even prompt you to allow them to come to you and to allow them to try to verbalize to you what has happened. Don't just scoop them up and try to console them. Ask them to communicate with you. Where does it hurt? What happened? Show me your boo boo. Do you want me to kiss it? Like, don't just automatically try and go to the rescue. Give them some space to develop a thicker skin. And before you know it, your kid will fall and they'll just brush it off. Encourage them to brush it off. But that's a side note. But yes, tip number 2 is lack of physical activity. So make sure, allow your kid to run around and be wild and free. Get a couple boo-boos. Another way that you can rectify this so that they will nap is to simply go on a walk. You may not have a big backyard, you may not have a park nearby, but you may have a sidewalk. So even just grabbing your kid by the hand and going on a 30-minute to an hour walk, you may think that it may not make a difference, but walking for that long for a kid, for a toddler, is good exercise. And they will indeed be tired just walking, up and down the street, around the block, around the neighborhood, what have you. Stop pushing these toddlers, these hefty, sound mind, able-bodied walking toddlers. Stop pushing them in strollers. Let them get out and let them walk. Hold their hand. Go somewhere nearby if you do have a park where they can roam around free. But let them get as much physical activity as possible. I have a rule of thumb personally when I'm working with families. Once they're walking, honestly, I definitely limit how often I'm pushing them in strollers. So let them get out the stroller, get that physical activity, let them walk with you, okay? So the last and final tip is lack of sleep environment and independence. This is also a big one as well. For nap time and for bedtime, you want to make sure that you have a good sleep environment, somewhere with minimal noise. I wouldn't say completely silent because I do think that it is important for kids to be able to nap when other things are going on. But I also recommend like serene environments, as serene as possible. So blackout curtains, diffuser with lavender. Lavender is very good for sleeping. Even down to a satin pillowcase and satin sheets for the baby, okay? Especially for all of my black moms out there, like if you sleep on a satin pillowcase, give your child the same luxury because it's helping you sleep, so it'll help them sleep as well. So nice, comfortable sheets, serene music, dim light, those types of things. You don't just want to some babies can sleep wherever and whenever, no matter what's going on. But for nap time, to an extent, I do believe in being intentional and creating a good sleep environment, especially if you know that as a person and as a parent that's something you desire, and something that you use to sleep. Like I sleep with lavender diffusing, so that's definitely a luxury that I would treat my child to. So, do for your child as you would like done unto you. And for the independence part, so this can be controversial, but I'm basically gonna tell you to let them quiet out a little bit. I know some people agree, some people don't agree, but I want to encourage you to think long term for this. At some point your kid is gonna stay overnight with a relative, with grandparents. Eventually they're gonna get older into the point where they're having sleepovers, and you want your child to be adaptable and independent, and you don't want them to be a needy sleeper, if that makes sense. So if your kid only naps when they're laying on your chest, I once they're walking and it's still happening, I would believe that it's becoming a problem. I'm not trying to tell nobody how to raise their kids, but you are watching my video. So I would say once they start walking, then it becomes a problem, because you want your kid to be independent, okay? So I would suggest, if you have a very needy or clingy sleeper or napper child, then I would highly suggest that you try Cry It Out. With everything else that is in place that I talked about, the routine, the physical activity, sleep environment, yada yada yada. And how I would recommend crying it out, and how I have done it in practice, and how I have seen it work successfully, is you put your child down, you set a timer for 5 minutes, okay? And you need to set the timer because, one, it holds you accountable, but it also shows you at what point in time are you ready to run to the rescue for your child when they cry. Is it 10 seconds? Is it 20 seconds? Is it 30 seconds? That's quick. You're not giving them any time to self-soothe or to cope on their own. And 5 minutes is a good amount of time. So it really holds you accountable, and it really shows you, hey, my kid has only been crying for 10 seconds and I'm all up in arms. I would also encourage you to think about why your kid is crying, because there are different cries. Kids cry when they're hungry, they cry when they're hurting, they cry when they're just simply not getting their way. So challenge yourself as a parent. Why is my kid crying? Are they crying because they're hurt, or are they crying because they're just not getting their way? Okay? And we can suffice with a not getting our way cry. So you set that timer for 5 minutes. That 5 minutes is up and your kid is still crying. You go in there, you comfort them verbally without picking them up. You let them know that they're okay, that it's nap time, that you love them. You leave the room. Set the timer again for 5 minutes and see how they do. If they're still crying, you go in there again, verbally console them, physically console them for no longer than a minute. Put them down and go back out. Set the timer for 10 minutes, and you keep repeating this process, and you add 5 minutes to each session. All right, so yeah, you guys, that is all of my tips for why your kid isn't napping. I hope that it is helpful. I would say like around 4 or 5, maybe sometimes even 3. That's usually when kids start to, drop their midday nap. So if your kid is like 5 or 6 and you're like, why won't they nap anymore? It's because they're getting older and they don't need it anymore. I've seen kids nap as long as up to 4 years old, and then I've seen them, drop naps right around, the 3rd birthday. So that's just some insight for you, but I hope this was helpful. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. Check the description box down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. One more thing that I wanted to add on to, this is just a side note, pro tip. Some kids just don't like to nap. Some kids just don't sleep that much. But even if your kid isn't a napper, this is more so like for toddlers. Like if your kid is 1, 2, or 3, and they just they don't go to sleep, I still think that it is important to put them down and for them to have that quiet time, and so that you as a parent can get a break. So even if they're not sleeping, if they are just in their crib or their playpen or wherever they are, I still think that it's important for them to learn how to, sit quietly, have that quiet time, play quietly with a stuffed animal. It's just a good skill for a child to have, and also it gives you a parent a break. So if your kid is just, they don't sleep, don't worry. You can still put them down. They can still, be in that contained area and have their quiet time. Especially if you have multiples, if you have twins or something, one sleeps, the other doesn't. You don't have to go and get the other one up. They can both kind of be napping, and one can be having quiet time while the other sleeps, and vice versa. So if you have a kid that doesn't, go to sleep during nap time, you can still put them down, and they can still, get the value of quiet time and resting, and relaxing, because it's important. That is important for their little bodies as well.